application for covering the cost of the partnership.
Okay.
Some do, some don't.
So that would be something that you could incorporate into something like we have Adopt a Home, an activity like that. We have time for how many more? There's
Do
one
one,
person
and
here.
just really quick, one last person, do one, and then after, we can have everybody, if you still would like to talk to Dawn, she will stay after, and she would love to hear about your personal and professional plans.
Okay, so right there.
I'll be quick. So I work for Community Greening. We are an urban forestry nonprofit, and aside from we have our annual fundraising event today, so I'm freaking out right now. I have delegated a whole bunch of stuff. But the one thing in our fundraising event, aside from the silent auction and the raffle table, is that we have this board called Mystery Box. And what you do is, let's say, obviously everybody has donated gift cards and stayed at hotels. And what you do is, let's say somebody picks a $20 item, they will get something of a $40 value. They don't know what it is. They don't know. It could be a gift certificate. It could be a bottle of wine, whatever it is, but it will be more than what they paid for. So that's something interesting. People are always like attracted to that. They'll come and they're like, what is this? What is this? And they'll buy everything. So that's one of the first things that goes out.
All right, thank you so much.
Okay, all right, I want to just say thank you. The time was short, but the ideas were good, they were strong. What I would like you all to do is if you could just turn in your papers to Chase, and then what we'll do is compile that, and then for the next class, we can have the ideas. So, you know, everyone's ideas, and I'll put them together. So if you guys can just show yourself some appreciation.
Thank you, Don. All right, Sal, you are up.
All right, I'm up. So I was watching this. Hey, I was watching the video about how to pause and wait and take a minute of class. So I'm trying to figure out how to do
We
that.
don't have time for that. Pause on your own time.
And so I was one of the helpful hints that I received last week was to incorporate some humor. As always, I try to do that. But I also, Ms. Herrera made a statement earlier about how do you know the audience, and because my first presentation was that I was in the second grade, I didn't tell the teacher. I'm going to tell you guys that both of my parents are graduates from a theological seminary, and so they taught us very early on how to stand, how to, homiletics, hermeneutics, all that other stuff. And so they taught us very on, being very kids, on how to present. But my second grade teacher never didn't know this, and so the person that she wanted to give a presentation on the book that he or she read was me. So I get up there, and I was not in a bow tie. I was dressed like a little preacher's kid, right? And so I went up there and I gave this presentation. It was about a 10-minute presentation. I was the only kid that presented, because I figured that the other kids, one wouldn't meet my performance, and she didn't want to put the other kids in the spot. So I was annoyed because I was singled out, because I wanted to hear my little friends talk about what they read. And so what I try to do though is try to know my audience. Right? Larry stepped out. He's a leader, a driver, and so I understand there's people in the class that are drivers. I also understand there are people that are very analytical. And so what we try to do with Megan, myself, and the team is to have this that's both interactive, that you apply things, that we incorporate all the topics together in a live, and so that's why we created. We have 2 live case studies to give you guys tools and techniques on how to do things, right? Because we have a broad audience of different skill sets, and me, given who I am, right? I'm looking at, for example, Roxanne, who's the director of campaigns for United Way. I'm looking at Maria, who's the VP with Larry. Right? I'm looking at Keith, who's the chief philanthropist. I'm looking at CPAs. I'm looking at Amanda, who's the director of communications, and it takes everyone to understand an organization, right? I'm also looking at Eduardo, who's a treasurer. So I'm looking at all this skill set that this group has, right? I'm also looking at, for example, Karen, who's both an entrepreneur, she has her own business, plus also has her foundation, her nonprofit. So I'm thinking of all of you as to what's the best way to give you guys skills, right? I'm also looking at some, right? Desiree works for a city, but she's also a student here. Matthew, who has a gift for all of you, I won't tell you what it is, is also an entrepreneur and a student. And I'm saying all of that for this reason. When you talk about fundraising, it takes the whole nonprofit in order to do that. Right? It takes the executive director, it takes the board, right? It takes you, the workers that are there. It takes everyone, right? It takes also the community, the clients that you're serving, to give you the what? To tell you, to articulate their needs, so that you can do what? Grow your organization. To do what? So you can do fundraising. Right? Because that's a friend of mine who told me, Sal, when I worked in government, Sal, revenue is what blood is to the vampire. You need revenue. Without revenue, you can't grow. Without revenue, you can't accomplish what you want to accomplish. Without revenue, you can't revise the mission and expand the mission. So this is about program, service, and accomplishments. So when I was developing, when Megan and I were developing this presentation, I was in Megan's office, and we're talking about this, and all of a sudden, both the analytical part and the driver part, and then the expressive part came out, because I started drawing this diagram. So the diagram essentially tells you how an organization ought to work, understanding the inputs, right? It's the revenue, it's the resources, human resources, it's the infrastructure that you have, it's the information technology. Everything needs to come together. That's what helps you what? Deliver the service to your client. Right? You need all that. That sets up the stage for the programs. Right? You have the mission, right? You have the community that you want to serve. For example, let me use Karen's Bowtie Kids. She suffered with chronic pain as a child. There's a community out there that suffers with chronic pain. The reason why she created the foundation was the nonprofit was to what? Serve that community. That community helped inform the mission. With that mission, then comes the revenue, the people that you need, the programs, and all that. That then leads to what? Helping the clients. What is the best way to help that client or clients? And then I made a comment, and it wasn't to be derogatory or anything like that or negative, but a lot of nonprofits don't do a very good job of highlighting their accomplishments. Highlighting their accomplishments. Right? You highlight the outputs, the number of kids that we serve, the number of beds that were filled, right? The increase in revenue. The one thing that nonprofits are sort of weak on is explaining the outcome. What was the impact of those services on the people that you serve? For me, I'm looking at the impact. The impact is going to be whether or not, right, what we're imparting upon you is very useful, and can you apply it to your organization to grow your organization, to enhance your organization. That's an outcome that's very important to me. It's not whether you like my jokes. It's not whether you like my bow tie. It's nice because I'm here presenting, right? But what's important to me is what impact do I have upon you as an individual, upon you as a professional, upon your organization? To get you where? To get you where your vision is. Where do you envision your organization to be in 5 years? Right? 10 years? In the immediate, where do you want to go? How are you going to get there? We had a discussion about setting priorities. Right? There's a spreadsheet that I created. Why? Because some of you are going to be in a position where you're going to expand. How are you going to expand? Who do you need to include? What are the tasks? What are the activities? How are you going to plan it out? How are you going to scope it out? What revenue do you need? What people do you need? How's that going to impact information technology? All of those things are important because all of those things are going to impact how you're going to grow, but it also is going to highlight the needs that you have. So this diagram has multiple purposes. Megan looked at it and goes, Sal, you need to put that in there, you need to put that in there. I said, fine, not a problem. So we did it.
Driver nail
So your accomplishments should inform the growth. You provide services to clients. That accomplishment should also foster some growth. For example, is there a population or subpopulation in your client base that you aren't serving? Right? Are you predominantly serving one group and underserving another group? If you're underserving that group, then your programs and your organization needs to expand. With that expansion, you're going to need what? You're going to need revenue. But that also informs the needs. What needs do you need in order to serve that underserved population? Let me give you a quick example. As I mentioned very early on, I consider myself both a martial artist and a boxer. More than I do a PhD. And so this is 2 stories. I was here 3 months ago. This is my 6th month. 3 months ago, I was at the gym. I was doing heavy bag work. Before I did that, there was a gentleman that was a student that was practicing on the bag. And I'm looking at his style, and I'm looking at this, and he got mad because I wrapped up my hands, I put on my gloves, and I started shadow boxing. He looked at me, he got mad, and he stopped. He took off. And I said, "Excuse me, are you done?" He was so mad he took off. Right? So then I started doing what I'd like to do, hit the bag. He's waiting for the elevator, and he's mad, he's worse. So I'm thinking, this guy just lost an opportunity to do what? To meet the needs that he has in order to be a boxer. That was 3 months ago. Sunday, after our first session, I did my workout, go to the heavy bag, and there's this very handsome couple, Evan and Rachel. And so I asked them, "Are you guys using the bag?" "Yes, we're using the bag." He goes, "Well, you can come and work in." I said, "No, that's all right. Just do what you have to do." And then I went to the row machine. I waited for like 20 minutes thinking, he's gone. Great. I can do what I need to do. Because when I work out, I work with the bag and then I dance with the bag. Dancing with the bag means I'm looking at the movement of the bag, I'm moving around. Right? He's still there. I put on my wraps, my gloves, and he goes, "You can work in." I said, "That's right, I can wait." I said, "But go ahead and punch the bag." So he starts punching the bag. He stops back, "I need you to work, and you can come in now." So I start hitting the bag like I normally do. And then he says, "Excuse me, sir." And I said, "Yes." He goes, "I need you to teach me." And so I stopped, right? And I said, "Okay." I said, "I need you to hit the bag." So he starts hitting the bag again, right? Me, first thing that I noticed is a southpaw. Naturally, I'm an orthodox fighter, left, right? He's a southpaw. I'm looking how he's throwing his punch. I'm looking how he's standing. And I'm not assessing this because what? I'm assessing the needs that he has. Not because I'm better than him, but what are the needs? How is he throwing the punch? How is he stepping? So I looked at it, I said, "Okay, Evan," because I know he told me his name was Evan. I said, "Evan, this is what I want you to do." So I started teaching him how to hit the bag. Right? He's hitting the bag. And then I started knowing little nuances. His elbow's coming out. "No, Evan, you got to twist. Right? You got to twist this way." Right? So he starts doing that. And then he starts cocking his arm back. I said, "No, Evan, you got to go from here, straight." Right? So I'm sitting there understanding who he is, how am I going to help him? You guys. It's for his personal growth. You guys. Right? You need to understand your client. You need to understand your organization. What do you bring? How are you going to do that? Right? I'm using this as a metaphor, but it applies to organizations. What skills do you have? How can you help? How can you grow? I'm going to grow as an individual because then I'm not a southpaw. So I'm going to have to do everything that I've learned on the orthodox side on the right side. To do what? To help my client. Right? I'm going to grow. So when I put this together, Megan says, "Sal, yes ma'am, we need you to put examples in there." I said, "Okay." So I went in there, right? I put all this stuff, little examples. For why? So that you can understand what we meant by accomplishment, what we meant by outputs. Right? How does that inform the growth? And then the needs. Now, I mentioned something very brief last week about revenue. And I'm going to just put this slide in here for revenue. There are primary sources, but there's also a SWOT analysis. Now, SWOT analysis you guys should do for not just the revenue, but also for the programs that you have. What are our strengths? What are our weaknesses? What are the opportunities? And then what are the threats? What's the threat if that program not existing? What's the threat if you're not having the revenue to provide that service? Right? What threat does it provide? What threat is there to the client? Right? Going back to Evan, if I do not spend my time with Evan, showing him how to do the little nuances about boxing and so forth, I'm doing a disservice to him. Right? He's not going to learn proper technique. He's not going to learn how to move his feet. He's not going to learn how to bob and weave. Right? How to incorporate that. How to eventually start dancing with that bag. Your organization is a live and thriving organization. It has needs. You can fight them, or you can dance with the organization saying, "This is how I want to move it." How are you going to do that? Accomplishments are great. But it's how you're going to move forward. How are you going to accomplish that? Right? For Ms. Herrera, who's an MBA, who wants to understand nonprofits, for her it's very critical to understand what? Why the nonprofit sector exists. What does it want to accomplish? I don't know if Flavia's here. She's probably not here. But another person from the private sector. Why is the nonprofit sector important? What needs do the organizations have, and how can I fulfill them? So, bow tie kids. Right? I'm spending a lot of time with both bow tie kids and also with Education Rocks. We're going through this process of they want to expand services, reach out to the clients. First thing I asked them was, where do you want to go? Where do you want to end up? If I know where you want to end up, I can understand the needs and how to get there. Right? Going back to the program management sheet that I had, right? Because it has to be methodical. I have to understand what are the things that are going to happen, how is it going to affect all the entire organization. Also, what are the things that can go wrong. And I want to mitigate the things that can go wrong. Right? Because then, if I can mitigate the things that go wrong, it means I have a stronger organization. They're able to grow the way they want to grow and serve their clients the way they're supposed to be served. Right? Now, in terms of Amanda, right? She's not in this organization, but she's a communications director. She needs to understand what? The accomplishments, where we want to go. Because if she's going to be the communications director, she has to do what? Communicate that to whom? Not just internal to the organization, but to prospective donors. Right? This is where Don's presentation comes in. How are you going to present your needs to the donors? And why should they donate to you? Right? What makes you separate and different from the other nonprofits? So for bow tie kids, right, I put these, I don't like using the term buckets. We use that in government and budgeting. So I look at functions. Right? So what are the human resources functions? What are their needs? Short, mid, immediate, short-term, long-term. What are they in terms of contractual services? Contractual services are important because if you add individual, if you're a growing organization, you don't want to hire, you don't want to make the organization very sort of top-heavy. So initially there's some services that you need to contract because it's more efficient, more effective to do that. So what is it that you need to contract? Why are you contracting them? Right? As the organization grows, then you hire someone that can do that. Short-term, mid-term. Look at this. Programs and services and capital. All of these should not be viewed in isolation. They need to be viewed comprehensively, working together. There's a tendency in some nonprofits to focus on one program area without understanding the impact it's going to have on other program areas. The impact it's going to have on information technology. The impact it's going to have on capital. Right? As you expand services, if you don't have the facility, you're going to have to acquire a facility. If you do have a facility, what are you going to do? You're going to have to expand. Do you have room in your current location to expand? If you don't, what do you have to do? Acquire another facility. The question then becomes, how are you going to finance that acquisition? Are you going to use part of the endowment if you have an endowment, or are you going to go issue debt? I do not like to issue debt, because that means that I have to spend money that's going to go for services to what? Pay the interest and principal. Right, so there are ways of how to fund these things. Now, Education Rocks, another organization that wants to expand. Again, I have the operations, I have financial, human resources, right? You see the short-term, long-term. What I did here was I added several columns, a cost estimate. There are direct costs that you have, acquiring people, acquiring buildings, acquiring information. There's also the indirect costs, right? For example, I'm going to have to include the treasurer's office. I'm going to have to include the chief philanthropist. I'm going to have to include my communications director. Those are indirect costs that I need to account for, because that's going to give me what? The total cost of this need and total cost of the program and so forth. Where is it going to hit in the budget? Now, how many of you here have program budgets? All right, some of you don't. I suggest that you start creating program budgets, because you need to know what the program actually costs. If you have 3 programs, 3 program budgets with direct costs, indirect costs. That gives you how much revenue you need for each program. It also tells you why you're going to expand the revenue. It also tells you what the future needs are going to be for the organization. I have in there, right, staff, and also have in there information technology. If you don't have, for example, Marie and Larry, if you don't have, for example, information technology, how are you going to have an assessment protocol? Because you need to do what? House the data. When you house the data, you have to do what? How are you going to manage the data? You have to have governance document on that data. How are you going to clean it up, right? Darwin mentioned about using razor's edge and so forth. Yes, there's information that he's going to need, and if that information isn't captured, what did you do to him? You just not handicapped him. He can't do what he needs to do, right? If I go back to Evan, who wants to be a boxer, right? I need to make sure that not only just that he knows how to hit the bag, I've got to spend time with him in front of a mirror. Not because I want him to look how handsome he is, right? What am I doing in front of the mirror? I'm going to show him what? How to stand, how to hit, how to pull, how to move, right? I'm going to make a more finesse movement out of that. Same thing here. You need information technology. That's going to help you do what? Record your accomplishments. Understand what the needs are, right? In terms of the information technology, right? In terms of charting that out, right? That's going to do a lot of things for you. So you have to look at all of these different components when you talk about needs. Now these spreadsheets are all available to you guys. I make them available to help you out. Right? There was a comment as, you know, when Larry made the comment, why am I here and how can you help me? The reason why I have all those spreadsheets and all that stuff is to do what? Help you guys move what? Help you guys to acquire the skills or enhance your skills so you can get your organization to move where you want it to move. Yes, sir.
Where would that be available?
Megan. Call Megan. No, it's available on the course. Yeah.
Canvas under the module, get started and resources. We'll put everything that you need there.
But also if you have my business card, so if you can't do that, if you email me, send me an email, I'll send everything and probably more. And so I'm very open to all that stuff. And so I give you guys my business card, not because I want to sell anything to you guys, but if you have questions about stuff, I am more than willing to help you out, and because that's what I do. The most rewarding thing for me is to help you guys grow, to help you enhance your skills. That's what's rewarding, right? That's why I spend time with Evan, and I'm going to spend lots of time with Evan because that's rewarding. Okay? All right.
Take the applause. Thank you. Any questions about the strategic plan? Nope. Yes.
I just wanted to know if we're going to receive more in-depth training or offer any classes to develop a strategic plan ourselves, or if you have any of the...
We're happy to work one-on-one with you guys, so if you are, this is something that you do and you need some help, then just reach out to Sal or I, or both of us, and then we can kind of work with you.
Nothing related.
And then there is a handout in there. I know there's a lot of things, we're covering a lot of stuff. And so some of this you're going to need to do on your own time when you go home and just try to think about it. One of those is your pitch. Start thinking about that. But then there's just a worksheet in there about your personal action plan of just goals and objectives that you have, if your takeaways from the day, to be like, I want to do this. It's just a kind of sheet there to organize you so you can take that back with you. But we do have a unique opportunity today that we want to give one of our undergraduate students. And you have a few minutes, so.
Do you wanna? I want to pull up the website. Yeah.
Okay.
You want to read them out while I pull the website?
Yes.
Cool. So we have some more laptops. So get your raffle tickets out. We're going to read off some numbers, and we're going to deliver the raffle winners the gifts. And then, like she said, we're going to have our undergraduate student Matthew D'Amico come and offer you a unique business opportunity and a taste of his beverage.
His
that he makes
creation.
himself. Yeah.
All right. The first winner, 119127. Yay!
Dylan, here you are. Yeah, clap it up.
All right. The second winner, 119159.
That's you, all right.
And now everybody that hasn't won out, I never win anything, right? It's not my karma. 119118. You thought that, and then you won.
I was ready to trust this.
Chase, you stopped working.
Sorry. I seem to have missed somebody on the raffle, so I...
119147. You're, all right. And again, if any of you guys have anything that you want to raffle off too, and then, you know, we're open to that as well.
Yes, so definitely going forward, I know we've had some nonprofits who have offered some of their unique prizes that are unique, again, to their nonprofit. If you have any ideas, please reach out to me. I will also be sending an email asking. Our last little wrap-up before we get out of here, our undergraduate student, Matthew D'Amico, who took this program to be exposed to all this wonderful nonprofit expertise we have in front of us, has started his own company. It's called Luxury Tea, and outside we have a setup where all of you on your way out can grab a nice little taste and talk to the owner of the business himself.
As well as Don too.
So I'll let you go, and then you all are free as soon as this year is done.
Alright, thank you, Chase. So yes, my name is Matthew D'Amico, and I'd just like to share with you guys a business I've been pursuing called Luxury Tea. It came from the concept of when you go to a restaurant, you're going to have two things to choose from. Alcohol, where the waiter comes to you, tells you how special it is. They have a wine menu, and they just promote it and hype it up like crazy. And then you have your second option to settle for, which is your soft drinks, which is very low-end, low quality in the restaurant industry, and it's poured in a plastic cup with a straw. If you're getting tea, it's with the sugar packing. You got to mix it. It's a low-quality experience. So what I've created is Luxury Tea, which is what I'm trying to bring to the table is a high-quality, high-end beverage that is non-alcoholic and is an alternative to alcohol. And to give you a description, the experience is: discover an exclusive taste refined to perfection, a brew complete in richness and sweetness like no other, and made with premium gourmet ingredients. Experience the revolutionary new age of tea. Make luxury your lifestyle. Never settle for less.
All right.
So as you guys leave today, there's a table out there with a sample, and if you want to leave comments or give any feedback to Matthew, you can use that inbox and just send him an email from campus.
All right. Please let me know.
Thank you all for coming today.
Emmanuel. I didn't want to get too loud. Again?
Thank you. I like putting faces with names. Thank you. I love it. I think it's going to be great. So if you're going through and have any issues, you're able to get no worries. Thank you. We're so hard to have those 1,500.